Oh, bosh. Alright guys, welcome to the garage. Right, just a quick one. Well, I'll try to make it quick. With woodlands, for those of you that are thinking of buying a private woodland. Felling licence. If you've got a private woodland, you can't just go chopping down trees left, right and centre and thinning things out and doing what you want. You do need a felling licence, okay, that's law. And your property might come with a felling licence. Make sure it's applicable to you, get it in your name. Yeah. So to get a felling licence, you have to apply to the Forestry Commission, and they'll want to know what your woodland management plan is going to be. In other words, what is it you intend to do? What have you got? What is it you intend to do? When do you intend to do it? How do you intend to do it? How do you intend to make it a better place? And over what time span, etc. Now, it's quite in depth, but you go onto the Forestry Commission website and you either apply as the owner or you apply through an agent. Now, as the owner, the license will be in your name, yeah? Or if there's a group of you, in that group's name. But you own the woodland and the license is made out in your name or that group's name. If you get an agent to do it, now when I say an agent, this is someone who specialises in doing woodland management. Yeah, so they've got a chainsaw school, they're part of an a tree college, can't think of the word now. You know, they're not the guy that turns up at the door and says, look, I'll cut your tree down for 200 quid and take it all away. All right, they are licensed tree fellers, tree surgeons, etc. Make sure you get a reputable agent. You can ask the Forestry Commission for recommendations. You can ask the Woodland Trust. You could go to your arboricultural college, you know, like a college that deals with agriculture and stuff like that. They may be able to give, but make sure you have got a reputable agent. The license will be in their name, not yours, but you will be responsible for what they do. Okay, they'll sort out the license. They've got the insurances. Make sure they've got them, and public indemnities and God knows what else for when their workers come in or their schools come in, etc. But you're still ultimately going to be like liable for whatever's in them trees. So the trees are yours or your groups. Let's just say they're yours. It'll be easy, wouldn't it? And you need to get a felling licence from the Forestry Commission. Now, when you've gone through all the process of acquiring your woodland, and whatever type it might be, it could be conifer, it could be broadleaf, yeah, it could be ancient, etc, etc, etc. There's all sorts of different things within it, you know, like tree preservation orders, public rights of way, sites of special interest, this, that, and that all adds to the complexity of getting the felling licence or the thinning licence or the coppicing licence, because you have an individuals and then you have joint. So it can become quite complicated. And if that doesn't sound bad enough, the Forestry Commission doesn't work in acres. So when you registered your land with the land registry, it was probably in acres. Yeah, Forestry Commission don't work in acres. They work in hectares and parts of. So you've got to convert your acreage into hectares. They don't work in like feet or trees or areas. Well, they do, but they work in cubic areas. So it's a cubic area of work, trees, that you're going to be dealing with. Now, to try and work out what a cubic area is, excuse me, it's an absolute nightmare. Yeah, I couldn't find any real explanation for it. One of the things I did find, that I think it was a cubic area of a tree, so it's, and how tall it is as well. It's a certain amount of centimetres wide by yards or metres high, because you're only allowed to take out a certain amount of cubic metres. Yeah, within your felling license, and you need to show and demonstrate to the Forestry Commission the cubic areas that you're taking out, or you're thinning, or you're coppicing, or whatever you're doing. And all those terms you need to understand, so look into it. Don't just go out and buy a woodland and think, oh, everything's great, because there's a lot involved. So yeah, they work in hectares and they work in cubic, and they'll want to know how you're going to treat or manage the area. So when you come to the part where you have to draw with the mouse, like your little twiddly thing, like on the computer screen, you have to draw in your land, your woodland, on a map. Yeah, they won't take Google Earth or nothing like that. You have to use their system, and to use their system, you need to have your land registry stuff next to you, so you can copy it as best you can and convert it into the hectares and everything else. And then within that map that you draw for the Forestry Commission, you do sub maps of, in this area I'm going to clear, this area I'm going to coppice, this area I'm going to thin, this is I'm going to do this there, this I'm going to do that there. All right, and it can be quite complicated, but you'll be given an agent. So when you apply yourself, I mean, I've done mine myself. The Forestry Commission will give you an agent to help you. All right, and do take their help, because it's an absolute nightmare otherwise. All right, so with their help, the agent will come down to your woods. You take them around with your management plan, like a hard copy of your management plan, and you say, well, this is what I've got. Yeah, and they'll make an assessment of your woodland, and they'll say, well, you probably need to do this, you probably need to do that. Da, 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 da. They can't tell you what to do. You just have to read between the lines. You know, so if you say, well, I want to cut all that lot down there, they might go, no, I don't think so. You might want to thin that area there. See what I'm saying? So go by their lead. They are there to help you. They really are. They're there to try and regenerate the woodlands, and you're there to try and regenerate the woodlands as well. So anyway, you'll be given an agent. They'll come down a couple of times. You'll be able to talk to them on the phone, discuss the map, discuss like what woods you've got, what sort of trees you've got, what you would intend to do with them now, for what you want for the future, etc, etc, etc. So do take them up on their offer. That they are really, really good. Honestly, they're really, really good. Or your agent will do all that. But if you're a bit of a control freak like me and you want to know what's going on, you do it yourself rather than rely on someone else doing it. Okay, so you'll apply for your license. One of the things they will ask you is how you're going to manage the area. And when they say manage the area, they mean manage the woodland, the ground, access in and out, and wildlife. Specifically, deer and squirrel, grey squirrel. How are you going to manage that? Now, grey squirrel have basically got to catch and kill like red signal crayfish. Yeah, if you catch a grey squirrel, you've got to kill it. You can't release it into the wild. It's illegal to let it go from your woods into another one. So basically, you've got to kill it. So a grey squirrel, you can take out with an air rifle, and as long as it's sensible, like, you know, don't make it a sport, you're killing something. All right, you manage the grey squirrels. Now, when it comes to the deer, that's a completely different story. You're gonna, well, okay, let's start from managing deer. Your license will specify, basically it's a contract. When you take out a felling license, you take out a contract with the Forestry Commission and sometimes with the council, all right? And you need to manage the deer. In this country, we've got all sorts of deer from Mount Jack right up to the big ones, like, you know. You can protect your saplings, your coppice, your trees, etc., by doing dead hedging, yeah, or by putting up galvanised wire, or putting up electric fencing, or all various means you can get. It's like a plastic deer deterrent fence. Right? Now these all sound good and wonderful, and they're natural and it's lovely, all right, but Mount Jack will just jump onto a dead hedge. A dead hedging fence is when you take off all the brash. So you cut a tree down, once you get your license, yeah. You take off all the branches and then you're left with like the thinner branches, about yay, with all the branches and twigs on top of it. You can lay that round in like a reef type affair around, like say a stump, a coppice stump, and you create what's called a dead hedge. Now that has got to be quite high and quite deep. Now it depends how big your woodland is and the area you've got available, but it's got to be a fair, 3-4 foot wide in most cases, and it's going to be at least quite high, 4 foot, 5 foot. A Mount Jack will just jump on it, jump through it, go down and nibble your saplings or your shoots or whatever. Bigger deer will just charge through it. A Mount Jack can jump 6 foot. An ordinary deer will stand on its back legs and climb over. So they're not very effective, but they are effective. So in conjunction with doing all that fencing and everything else, you shoot them. The deer are culled. They're shot. Now there has to be a specific amount of deer in the herd coming into your acreage. Depending on how big your acreage is, etc. There's a percentage of how many can be shot. But the amount of damage these deer do is incredible. And I know everybody loves Bambi and stuff like that, but part of the contract, when you take out a felling license, part of the contract is the very minimum you will produce in the first 2 years, 1,100 stems. Yeah? A herd of deer, a Mount Jack, will chew about 50, 60, 100 stems a night. Now you get a herd come through and it will completely decimate your crop. And that's it. Now if you don't produce as a minimum 1,100 stems within 2 years, by the 3rd year, if that number hasn't been reached, you will then be, you're then responsible for replacing that tree at your own cost. Right, so you've got to buy another tree and go through the whole process again, because otherwise you've defaulted your contract and you're in trouble. So it's quite serious. It is quite serious, and they do a hell of a lot of damage. And no one wants to shoot deer and stuff like that, but that's the way it is. Now, when it comes to shooting deer, like roe, fallow, and all the rest of them, you need a professional shooter. Now, you can go onto these rifle clubs and things like that. Most of these shooters will come down and do it for free, because they keep the carcass, they process it, they sell it, they do whatever. But you do need to assure the Forestry Commission that you are managing the deer and the grey squirrel with fencing, shooters, etc. And at the end of the day, if you haven't produced the stems that you've contracted to say you're going to, then you will financially fork out for it. Bad news. Bad news. Those are the sorts of things that you need to take on board when you're going for a felling licence, yeah? Now, the felling licence process itself, once you've gone all the way through what you want to do, how you're going to do it and when, and how you're going to replace stuff and reseed it or coppice it or etc., it then goes away and the Forestry Commission will look at it and they go, yep, okay, we agree with that. It then goes out to consultation for 28 days to the general public, at which time anybody can go, no, I don't like that idea, and it can make life awkward, you know. Now that's if it's just a straightforward felling licence. If you've acquired a woodland that's got tree preservation orders on one or the entire woodlands, things get a little bit more complicated. If you've got public walkways, bridleways, things like that, you're going to be legally responsible for any trees that might fall on top of them. Now, if you've got people that walk through, so you've got to have your personal indemnities and liability insurances, and it's quite in depth, guys. Do look into it. The felling license happens once you've bought the woodland, but look into felling licenses before. Get yourself an idea, because you need to know what trees you've got. You need to know how you're going to manage them. You're going to need a woodland management plan, yeah, which is basically, this is how my woodlands is at the moment. and this is how I'm going to make it better. I'm going to do this over here, I'm going to do that over there, I'm doing this over here, and I'm going to replant stuff here. And you can only replant what you're allowed to replant. You can't just stick anything you want, and then in 10 years this is going to do that, 15 years this is doing this, da 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 da. You've got yourself a management plan. Do it as a hobby, otherwise it becomes very, very stressful. Yeah, your felling licenses will be for 5 or 10 years. Now, depending on your acreage or your, whatever the other thing is, hectares, yeah, and what type of woodlands it is, you can get government grants. I believe you've got to have over 2 acres, and you have to have at least a 10-year license. Now, they don't just give you the money, here you go, John, get on with it. There are conditions, and you have to meet and satisfy those conditions with the Forestry Commission. And if there's tree preservation orders, sites of special interest and stuff like that, which is the council, you need to have the Forestry Commission give you the licence, the council to back it, and everything comes together. All right. Now, just as a quickie, when I bought my land, all right, it's under 2 acres. There's the whole woodland is huge, absolutely huge, and but overall there's like 12 of us that bought 12 separate plots. When I bought mine, I had I had the gaming rights, the mineral rights, my permissive rights, which means I could camp for 28 days or 28 nights during a year, unless I was doing forestry work, which I need a felling license for, and I had at the time. Yeah, you could do longer and more. Then two of the people in 2 of the plots went against or did something they shouldn't have done, and in the entire woodlands, all of us got hit with a tree preservation order, which meant basically all my permissive rights, everything I had, was squashed. My felling licence, the lot. It has taken me just under a year, and various meetings with the Forestry Commission, Council and everything else to prove that this is what I'm doing, this is how I'm doing it in the right way, blah, 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 blah. And thankfully, thank you very much, the Forestry Commission have granted me my felling licence, the thinning licence, the coppicing licence, and the council have given me their best wishes, etc., so I can carry on. But that's taken nearly a year. So it could happen at any time, guys. So read up on it, be careful, all right? Be careful. The felling licence thing is a little complicated. I'm not computer savvy, so I found it quite difficult. But like I say, the Forestry Commission will assign you a forestry manager. Do take them up on their offer of assistance. They will come round your woods. They will have a notepad and paper, and they'll look at this, that, and everything else. And this needs doing, that needs doing. You've got to do this. And your head will spin. You'll think, what? Yeah. When they tell you, you've got to cut this down, cut that down, cut that. You think, hey, well, I want my trees, but you've got to do it. Anyway, so that's just a quickie on felling licences. So yeah, you be good, you safe, you keep smiling. I've just spent 6 nights down at my woodland because I'm a year behind because of what happened, and I tell you, it's hard work. It is hard work. Part of the conditions that I've got is if I fell a tree or do this or whatever, then that tree has to be moved, then processed. If it's diseased, it has to be dealt with in a certain way, and la-di-da-di-do. Read the small print. You be good, you be safe, you keep smiling. See you later, guys. Bye.